Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Gigi in the 561. I'm Pam Barker. I'm Gigi. Thank you for joining me today. I follow Food and Wine on social media. Used to buy the magazine um, because sometimes you learn stuff. You do. It's like you learn about good food and wine. Um, Today I was reading an article. I'm trying to catch up because we've been gone, and I suppose in a way this podcast is really should be on my other podcast, Travel Bistro, but it's kind of an all-purpose kind of podcast. Darren Cardosa, a writer for Food and Wine, this was actually published the first time in July, so it's just now being posted, or the first time I've seen it on social media. The headline is very interesting. It's what caught my eye. Having just returned, we've been away for a while actually in Europe, and the headline says these dining habits are a dead giveaway that you're an American tourist. Well, plenty of things give you away that you are a tourist and you may be American. Now, a year ago or so, a little over, when we were in Paris, I got confused that I was French. People thought I was French until I opened my mouth and did speak a little French, but not enough, and my accent certainly gave it away. Many things will give you away. It's like when you go to New York and you wear a certain color athletic shoes, such as white. Athletic shoes are all the thing people wear. I really don't. No judgment, but it's just not my style. Good for you that you do. In Europe this time, it's winter. It's winter here in SoFlo, but it isn't winter. Everything is green and it's hot. Now, while we were gone, it was cold here. I wore cuddle duds. I wore a big long coat with a hood. It had faux fur trim, gloves, but I also wore boots that were not the kind that you would wear in an attractive way. They're the kind that you wear, the bottoms look like tread on a tire, but it keeps you steady when you're on cobblestone streets. So they were wonderful. But the wearing of certain athletic shoes will also give you away. The way Americans tend to dress when they vacation is, to me, way bigger than these dining habits. Typically, people in Europe are very, very well dressed. Um, they take the time to do it even when they're bundled up in a coat. Their hair's done. They're not wearing pajamas. They're not rolling out of bed, brushing their teeth or not, and heading out the door. They're just not. And it's wonderful to see. I happen to be a big believer in dressing for yourself, really, but appropriately. We've gotten away from that a lot. And when you travel anywhere in this country or with Americans out of this country, you see that. But let me get back to this food and wine story by Mr. Cardosa about the dining habits that give you away as an American. I think what you find when you dine in Europe, first of all, is they bother with you in a way that when you dine in America, it doesn't really happen in this country. Such as they give you real napkins, even if you're just ordering a Coke and a cup of coffee or cappuccino or espresso. They bother. They bother. Now, when I say bother, these are jobs for them. They're not really working for tips. They're being paid a decent wage, and it's sometimes handed down from generation to generation. This is their career, and they treat it accordingly. Now, in Europe, servers are not going, and this is what he says in this article, and it is absolutely true. Don't expect your server to make small talk. They don't care where you're from, your life story, or that it's your first time to visit this country. They don't care. They have a job to do, and they're very efficient at doing it. They don't keep rushing back to your table to say, can I help you with anything? Do you need anything? What else can I do for you? Therefore, be aware if you do need something, if you need more of something, if you dropped your fork on the floor, you better get their attention and have them come over, because they are not trying to, as they do in the U.S., burn and turn the table. I've never been a server. I fear I would be very, very bad at it, and I would be fired. I have no doubt about that. But in Europe, they are not trying to turn the table. They don't care how long you sit there, because they're being paid a decent wage to do their job. But when you are ready to order in Europe, at any place in Europe, be ready with your entire order, because they're not going to come running back. If you order one thing like an appetizer, that's probably what you're going to get, unless you call them back over. Be ready to give them your entire order right straight away, because it's your responsibility to tell them what you want and how you want it. If there are anything in particular, they're not going to ask you, as a rule, if you're allergic to anything. That's on you. If you're allergic to anything, tell them, because that's not their problem. And this is not in a rude way. They're just there to take care of business. They're there to do their job. They're not going to plop water down in front of you the moment your butt hits the chair. You want water? Sometimes they will ask if you want water. Typically, the reason for that, do you want still or sparkling? Which do you want? And then there you go. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's not. But they are aware of the commodity of water and how precious it is. So wasting water is not what they're about. You want water? Okay, you can have water. But if you don't ask for it, you may not get it, probably won't. They're not in a hurry to serve you. Relax. Relax is what I have to say to you. Relax. Enjoy the moment, our moments, our hours. We were in Barcelona one time, and we literally did dinner. We lost track of the amount of hours we were at the table. It was one thing after another brought to the table. And it went into the night. So don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry. Just relax and enjoy. Tipping is a little bit more difficult, because sometimes they don't expect it, because again, they're paid a decent wage. They're not groveling for that extra couple of bucks. But if you want to do that, they're appreciative of it. But it's a little bit of a slippery slope when it comes to tipping when you're dining in Europe. The thing is, I think overall, the headline of this is, I think, really silly, that you're an American tourist, that these habits, asking for water, are expecting water as soon as you sit down, expecting to order one thing at a time, expecting the server to come over 15 times. Basically, if you're sort of in a hurry, you better ask for the check when they deliver your food. Just go ahead and bring the check, because again, they're not in a hurry to give it to you. As a matter of fact, no matter how long you stay at a table, you may have to ask for the check, because they're not bothering with you. They're letting you be you in the most blissful way of enjoying your coffee, your food, your dessert, whatever it is. They're letting you. We were in Venice this most recent trip, and we went to the Florian. If you know anything about Venice and the Florian, you know what I'm talking about. it's a white glove situation. And in many restaurants in Europe, it is a white glove situation. It is a white tablecloth situation. One thing they may ask when you go to outdoor cafes, restaurants that have indoor and outdoor seating, they may ask you if you're going to be dining or if you just want a drink. And if you just want a drink, sometimes you are only allowed to sit outside, but that's the whole point when you're in Europe, is to watch the people. And as you sit there, you will, I promise you, without a doubt, you will recognize your fellow Americans as opposed to people that are local. You do. And speaking of local, again, our recent trip to Europe, and while we were in Venice, we were in a neighborhood of locals, as it were. And we ended up at a restaurant on a river of where locals go. And the same thing happened to us in Rome. We found ourselves in an area of locals. We were in the most divine hotel, plopped down in the middle of residential. And one of the restaurants we went to, again, it was on a river, was very upscale and very beautiful to the nth degree. Everything was perfection. The chef, a young chef, came out, said the restaurant was fairly new, and he chatted with us and he gave us an amuse-bouche to start our meal with, just because he wanted to welcome us there. And no matter where you are, try to find the local. Where do the locals go? Because back to being in Rome, one meal at a very lovely upscale restaurant on a river, and then that night we walked a few blocks to a local pizza place. Now, when I say pizza, they have, and they make pizza differently, by the way. In Venice, in Rome, it is not what we get here so much at all. The crust can be very different. Sometimes it's more like flatbread, sometimes it's more an irregular, puffy kind of crust. And it's all very delicious. I prefer the puffy. But in this pizzeria, very small, we were the only non-locals, and you walk down a line, and they had a dining room, yes, where you could eat there, but we took it back to our hotel because it was very late. And that's another thing. Expect to dine late. If you don't like that, probably not going to be finding any early bird specials too much in Europe. They don't do early so much. But you go down the line and then you tell them what you want. And they didn't speak English so much, and we didn't speak Italian so much, but you work it out. You work it out. But don't be afraid to speak a little bit of Italian or any other language when you're traveling, no matter where you are. Try a little bit, because even if you try, I've said it before, but they do appreciate it. But the pizza that we got, we had pizza, we got drinks, soft drinks, and the whole thing was like, a little over $10. Of course, we're talking euros, so it was a little bit more than that once it was, you factored in that it was euros. So anyway, yeah, when you travel, they're going to know you're an American, but represent us well when you travel internationally, and watch the footwear, because they do, and they look spectacular. I appreciate you being here. Be sure to look us up on NorthPalmBeachLife.com, the YouTube channel by the same name. Gary, Gerry, but pronounced Gary, writes for several magazines, including Splash Magazine Worldwide, Aqua, and All Things Cruise. You will always find these podcasts on NorthPalmBeachLife.com, but at 20 other platforms as well: iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, and over 20. My books are on Amazon, Pamela Barker. Go get them, read them. They're not going to change your life, but they're fun to read, and I think we could use a lot more of that right now in February of 2025. Thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget my other podcast. I'll be jumping over there pretty soon to do a new podcast there, Travel Bistro, also by me. I'm Pam Barker. Thanks for joining me at Gigi and the 561. I'm Gigi. Stay with me.